What was the Please Stop School presentation that you witnessed? For 8th grade talent show, 2 girls sang the Mr. Bladell song. Mr. Bladell was a good-looking, recently college-graduated teacher that basically was about how cute they thought he was. Even then, it was incredibly uncomfortable, and I remember looking at the teacher's face and he didn't seem very amused. God, I would hate to be that teacher. I remember in high school one young and cool English teacher had to stop teaching English to seniors because they were so obviously obsessed with him. It was gross and uncomfortable. I had a teacher that was basically the opposite. Girls were crazy about him. I had bad family issues and ended up on the streets. He actually came to see me one day and offered to let me stay at his home. I was really creeped out. I was 15 at the time. Then 3 years later, I find out he was forced to resign for sleeping with multiple students. Not a presentation, but during our school assemblies we often had student performers, which were usually musically inclined individuals or theater kids doing a scene, monologue. One kid decided to do a stand-up comedy routine about a girl giving him a blowjob. So awkward, and the principal had to interrupt him. "Thank you, Kevin. That's enough. But I haven't finished yet." That reminds of drama class where a girl got a D for a skit she made and she was playing a prostitute. The one where my school got ripped off by paying a guy who claimed to be on SpongeBob to come talk to us about drugs. He did look kind of like Tom Kenny, I guess. I was also thinking backward about the question. I thought that meant, when did the school have to tell everyone to quit doing something? For me, it was banning Pokemon cards in 1998 circa, because toddlers were brawling over that first edition Charizard. In history class, we all had to do a presentation about some sort of injustice in the world. One kid chose a prison camp for his topic. All his PowerPoint slides were photos of men being stripped, chained, whipped, sodomized, and forced to give blowjobs. We were 13. Yes, his project was about Abu Ghraib. How far did the teacher let him go before he was stopped? The second slide, teacher interrupted to ask how many explicit pictures there were. The student showed the thumbnails of the slides and it was something like 40 slides long. Got him with the frick? I went to school for computer security. In an Introduction to Computer Security course, we had to do a project on social engineering. A student decided that for his project he was going to find a way to gain access to a chosen website. He found a small local business website, identified that the domain was registered to an email address from a local ISP, called the ISP to reset the password. They asked him for his last 4 of his SSN, so he hung up. He found the phone number of the business, so called them and pretended to be from the ISP, offering 3 months free if the person did a 5-question survey. They accepted and answered some BS questions. Then he asked for the last 4 of the guy's SSN, which they gave no problem. He then called the ISP with the last 4, got them to reset the password of the email account. He then logged into the email and used it to get the domain registrar to send a password reset to the email, which he used to reset the password of the domain account, and deleted the email. He recorded all phone calls and screenshotted the whole process. As he presented all these, we kept expecting him to say, "But that would be illegal, so I didn't do X," but he went all the way. The professor finally stopped him after he said he logged into the domain registrar and told him to destroy everything and never speak of it again. I think the professor was a bit nicer than he could have been, potentially to the point of accomplice, telling him to destroy evidence. Wow, nothing like combining digital crimes to pass a class. A little over 1/5 of my computer science class has committed digital crimes for homework. I'm certain of it. Cryptology is a fun field. LOL. Back in 2008, when my class did a pen test on a local bank, our professor went to the CEO and asked for permission first. Detailed everything we even might try. The CEO said go for it. Written permission with detailed explanations of everything we might do. Dumpster diving netted us bunches of unshredded documents with account numbers, usernames, social security numbers, and contact information addresses, emails, and phone numbers. We then created an email to go spear phishing, telling the bank's customers to log into their accounts with the link in the email, which led to a website we created that looked like the bank's website and had a similar, but wrong, URL that logged their passwords and then passed that information to the actual bank's website and logged them in and handed them off. We also went to the public library and looked up local clients' mother's maiden name, date of birth, county of birth, and full name, which we could have then stolen their identities with. The look of sheer horror on the CEO's face when we presented a report. I felt bad for him. He went into that meeting expecting us to say we couldn't get anything, because he had been watching for us to social engineer our way into the bank and had pictures of everyone in the class. When none of us went into the bank, he assumed he was golden. I am told that some stern words were had over shredding sensitive documents. No exceptions. And they had to send out an email telling people to change their passwords, because their accounts might be compromised. Nary a single law broken. We had permission. In college, someone was doing a presentation on Nelson Mandela and kept referring to Africans as African Americans. Something similar happened in my school too. The kids were supposed to be presenting on African music, literature, and art, and they started talking about Kendrick Lamar. Oh God, this is so much worse. My mom had a black friend from the UK who was also a Muslim. She came out to the US for business and people were shook by this black lady in a hijab with a British accent. Someone called her an African American and she said, "I really hope I don't sound American." Had a boyfriend who immigrated from South Africa with his family as a teenager. One of his parents was from South Africa, one was American. He was African American, but also white. It was a long slog through high school with that one. In Speech 101 in college we had to pick a children's book and voice act each character. That was it. That was the entire assignment. Well, one student decided to take it to the next level. He chose a Berenstain Bear book and decided to not only do voice acting for every single one of the characters, but also act it out. It was physically uncomfortable to watch this guy scramble around a room and pretend to be bears and other animals. It was not well done. It was awful. That sounds hilarious. It definitely would have been really fine if it wasn't so sad, if that makes sense. Everyone in the room was very uncomfortable. You could feel it. There's a level of cringe that becomes painful, instead of funny. This was in frickin' college. Our bio finals were to present on any topic that was related to biology. A group was presenting on types of protection for X. Not once did they refer to any body parts or fluids by their scientific names. So, yes, they literally had dong, cum, and pussy on slides and read off them. Everyone kept glancing over at our professor, who had this look like he was just constantly cleaning his glasses, because he couldn't believe what he was witnessing. They got Kentucky fricked on grading. I googled Kentucky fricked, but it just delivered PN results. Kentucky fricked has incredible potential. I'm putting it in the lexicon immediately. I've told this on Reddit a few times, but it's truly unforgettable. Smart kid in the class was giving a deeply sourced PowerPoint presentation on religion in Europe. He opens up his files, proceeds to click on his project named Imgur. He says clearly, "I wasn't really paying any attention when I named my file." He gives the presentation. He stutters and sweats bullets while we watch in utter disbelief. The word is sitting there on the top of the file heading the whole time. This was during a study abroad semester while attending a cultural communication class. He had to write in his own it after that. One time my friend had to go to his I don't care about folder to open a project in front of the whole class and teacher. Ugh. In college I had to open I'm going to frickin' kill myself docs file in front of my teacher once. I had already resaved the final document to a new file name, but he wanted me to include something from my first draft and insisted on going over it with me right then. I got pulled aside after class to make sure I was okay. Then an email from a counselor a few days later asking me if I wanted to set up an appointment due to an anonymous tip. It was cool that he was looking out for me, but it made things awkward for a while, especially since my mental health was fine. It was my sophomore year English class. This kid who was reading his essay in front of the class and started to stumble over some of the words. The teacher recognized the words and found the essay the kid plagiarized and started helping him read it. The kid didn't understand what was happening and just thanked the teacher and kept reading. Imagine the kid realized and said frick it and kept reading. That's how I'm imagining it. I watched the kid in his last year of high school start his presentation with "I might frick up while presenting this, because I plagiarized the whole thing last night and barely practiced." The prof didn't hear what the students said, but just acted like they did and gave a smile and thumbs up signaling that the student could begin presenting. The whole class heard it, but everyone was just too shocked and curious to see if he would actually be able to pull it off. I'm pretty sure he did. Ballsy move, Jason. Ballsy move. Someone in my class did a book report on the dictionary. The teacher was pissed. All of us students thought it was hilarious. Never heard the end of the presentation. Damn. I wish I had thought of that. I hated book reports. Me too. I was the kid who always just watched the movie. How long did they go on for? I would have been dying laughing. Maybe 3 minutes. Once the teacher clued in that he wasn't joking and he went on to explaining the chapters as she made him stop. Psychology class. Our final was to research and to a presentation on a mental illness. One group chose necrophilia, started with the first slide saying let's crack open a cold one. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please smash the like button and leave a comment which story you liked the most. Subscribe and hit the bell notification for updates on our latest videos. And don't forget to check the links in the description box for more awesome content.